Hello and welcome. You're watching News Central TV. It's time for News Central now. I am Judith, Atibi. The top stories at this hour. Police give update on security arrangement ahead of Edo governorship election. CBN reintroduces cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions. And Comoros president makes first appearance since knife attack. Details shortly. We'll begin with an update on the Edo governorship election, where the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the police contingent in the Edo state election, Frank Mba, announced that the state command, with the support of visiting officers, have been able to arrest miscreants at dark spots to ensure the election is hitch-free. It disclosed this while briefing journalists and election observers ahead of Saturday's election. Mba said the force has deployed adequately for the election, saying that the police would work with other sister security agencies to provide security during the election.
We do all within our powers to also ensure that misconduct by police personnel and other law enforcement agencies that will be deployed in these elections are reduced to the barest minimum. And in this regard, our roving teams and monitoring teams will also be keeping an eye on the activities of our police personnel. We appeal to you to help us in checkmating the activities of those who might be spreading fake news during this election. We have seen that in the past. We've seen instances of misinformation and disinformation, and therefore we'll be appealing to you to help us in checkmating the activities of some people who might deliberately try to use the instrumentality of fake news to cause panic within the polity, to heat up the polity, to create confusion, and possibly instigate a breakdown of law and order.
News Central's correspondent Austin Azu is on standby to give us update on the situation of things in Edo State. Austin, many thanks for joining us. What's the latest in the state?
Good evening. I can hear you. Good evening.
All right, Austin, I was asking about the latest in Edo State.
Okay, first and foremost, currently we are at Ring Road. You can see behind me and around me a lot of vehicular movements taking place, and some other people are likely returning from their place of work. But however, this evening, the DIG, who is in charge of the election monitoring here in Edo State, Mr. Frakuba, updated journalists and the observers who are monitoring these elections about their preparedness and the assurance given to the over 2,629,000 eligible voters for these elections of robust confidence that they will be able to police the area, and not only that, assuring them that there are going to be a lot of surveillance on the air, the water, and the land to ensure that they are able to go and cast their votes on the day of the elections. But precisely, he spoke extensively on those that will be given preference on the day of the election, the elderly, the sick, and the nursing mothers as well. But he warned against those who might be peddling fake news, and not only that, and he drew a strong warning to politicians who might be coming to the polling units with maybe sticks or harmful objects for them to dissuade other people away from the polling unit. Don't forget to that we are going to have over 35,000 police officers deployed for these elections. So in terms of vote buying and voter intimidation, we are equally being discussed at this DIG's conference with journalists. which a lot of persons seems to have agreed with the DIG for what he said from the press conference, because obviously we spoke to a couple of persons who collaborated with what the DIG has said, that you have a lot of the policemen on the ground, but the concerns of some of the people who spoke to seems to be like those faraway areas, like those riverine area and remote areas where most of those places cannot easily be accessed by land, or before you can access those areas, definitely must be on water. So it seems a lot of concerns, but nevertheless, the DIG equally responded swiftly to those fears, and those concerns were addressed, that the police will be everywhere across the state, over 192 police wards and over 4,229 police units, that the police will be visually visible in those areas. And not only that, they are working in collaboration with sister agencies, the Army, the Navy, and other security agencies. And equally said that the only security agencies mandated to go about these elections is the police, that any security outfit outside the one that has been mentioned, that there will be no vigilante, there will be no personal security guard on the day of the elections. And the people here seems to have that, that confidence that yes, the police might be, matching their words with actions, but the expectation remains that they will just be waiting till the day of the elections to confirm if what the police have assured them will definitely work out on 21st of September for the elections.
Right. I mean, with all that, all this news and message from the Deputy Inspector General of Police, were you able to speak to any of the residents there? Is there a chance we can speak to any residents where you're at to just see how they perceive and receive the news from the DIG?
Well, we spoke to a few couple of them, and some of them seems not to have gotten the information about what the DIG have rightly said, because not quite long that the DIG ended the media conference, and before we can actually have one or two persons that can speak to us concerning that will be quite difficult, because when we approached them earlier on to interview them, they seem to be nervous about it. But however, they are so much happy with the presence of the police they are seeing around, particularly within the state capital here. But not only that as well, there have been a show of police force within the state capital here. So it means that they are more confident about what the police seems to achieve in these elections, to ensure they are able to protect lives and property and guarantee that on the day of the election will be violence-free.
All right. Well, many thanks, Austin. We appreciate you for doing this with us. Austin Azu there, our correspondent live at Edo, the capital there, Benin, giving us update on the DIG's address to journalists, following just informing us about the security presence there for the elections come Saturday. We'll switch gears now as we continue our discussion on Edo elections. This time we're being joined by the Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, and that's Elvis Akpobi. Elvis, many thanks for joining us. We're pressed for time, so we're going to get started. What are your expectations for the Edo State governorship elections?
Okay, for me, I know we have, I'm of this opinion that we have three critical sectors to make this election free, fair, and credible before and after. The policemen, the security on board, the umpire, electoral umpire, and the people. In a democratic setting like we have in Nigeria, the people determine who governs them. And oftentimes, we've not been able to build trust with the electoral umpire. I was a privileged electoral observer for the last election in Liberia. If I take it back to memory lane, there was a runoff. Just because a particular candidate did not meet up what it takes to become a president. And I saw the electoral umpire so passionate about being free and performing a free, fair, and credible election. I had to engage most of the officials there. They were passionate on giving that the voice of the people should matter, not what they think and not through bias. But if you agree with me, what has been happening lately in Edo State, you have seen videos of the political bigwigs touching down Edo State for and against. But it's time we started amplifying the need that we are practicing democracy. The people should determine who governs them in the next 4 years. Devoid of police intimidation, devoid of high-net officials, which are the electoral umpire, not being biased. Because oftentimes in Nigeria, in our climate, we notice that the wrong people end up becoming the leaders. Not because they found their way through easily, but because they connect with people who will build trust on. And I don't think we expect that with Edo State. So I'd love to, in as much as I want to urge the people of Edo State to know that incompetence dressed up as a strategy is still incompetent and still totally unacceptable. They still should not forget that the times we are in at the moment. They should know that whoever they elect tomorrow or on Saturday will make policies that will either make or mar their life in the next 4 years.
And
at the moment, we have 3. Yeah.
Right, Elvis, just to ask, do you think that the election will be free and fair? You know, I mean, with all that we've heard, there's a heavy security presence. The police is ready to work full on. They've told us about the security arrangements and how they'll be cooperating with, the sister security agencies. Plus, they will be on ground, via air, and even on water. But do you still see any challenges that would hinder the success of the elections?
I'm hoping that the elections will be free and fair. Like I've always said, to make progress, we must build trust. The experts have lost confidence in the electoral umpire, owing to their previous elections they did. But still, I still want to urge the people of Edo State to stand that their actions and inactions on Saturday will determine how their well-being in the next 4 years. It's at the moment what we need in Nigeria has nothing to do with this on the political left or on the political right. It has a lot to do with people who knows that check this person's proven track record, and this person will deliver. If they can do well in their own private businesses, I think they can do well, government do better. So for me, they should look for those with proven track record and elect that person.
Right. Now, from your observations, how prepared do you think the Independent National Electoral Commission is for these elections?
I think they are prepared. They will always tell you they are prepared, but oftentimes my exceptions with them have to do with oftentimes there was electoral reforms, and then you agree with the last general election. What was in the act did not reflect, was not what the INEC chairman did. The act says that electronic voting, when you vote, it goes to the server and all that. But during the election process, I noticed that the chairman was interpreting that act another way around, and the electorate were not too okay with it. I want to urge the chairman and his team, while I want to commend them, they should know that their actions and inactions will determine how Nigeria will look like. This election is another litmus test to build the confidence of Nigerians ahead of the general elections in 2027. And they should also know that their actions at the moment will determine how Edo State will look like. They are faced with insecurity, lack of infrastructure across the country today. And until you start putting the right people in the right position, we'll continue being plagued with these things. And when we are plagued with these things, crime rate will increase.
All right.
And when crime rate increases, we can't have it right as a country.
All right. Well, Elvis, many thanks for doing this with us. As always, we appreciate you for coming on. Elvis Akpobi there from the Not Too Young to Lead initiative. We'll switch gears now from the Edo State governorship elections. Let's also tell you that President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero, has denied any involvement with the wanted Briton, and that is Andrew Wayne. Now, Andrew was declared wanted over allegations of funding the End Bad Governance protest to allegedly overthrow the government of President Bola Tinubu. Ajaero, who was speaking after a recent meeting in Lagos, alleged that the Nigerian government may have planted the wanted suspect in his office to indict the union. Recall that the Labour leader was arrested by operatives of the Department of State Services at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, on his way to the United Kingdom for an official assignment.
The person they are talking, is possible the government planted him in the NLC office. Because the person is known to have worked either in World Bank and various government establishments. And it wasn't the NLC that gave him visa. And has been in Nigeria for 20-something years. And has no relationship with us, contractual relationship, or even tenant-landlord relationship. None. So why are you now throwing those things at us? A Briton was not brought into the country. NLC does not give people visa. We didn't bring him. We gave that place to a socialist democratic movement. And then I think he's a member and he's selling book there. So why are you now trying to put it on our head? Whereas why he was consulting for various state governments in Nigeria and even the federal under the ILO, sorry, under the World Bank, it wasn't for NLC.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. We go on a short break. When we come back, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu will not be attending the United States General Assembly. That's the 79th edition. We'll tell you more about this after the break. Join us again. And you're welcome back. President Bola Tinubu will not attend the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. This was made known in a statement released on Thursday by the President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. He stated that the President has thus directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flooding. At UNGA 79, Vice President Shettima will deliver Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly, attend important sideline events, and hold bilateral meetings. In the meantime, there are strong indications that President Bola Tinubu may scrap the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation as part of a major cabinet rejig. The exercise could also see some portfolios split and others merged into a single entity, while some ministers would be relieved of their duties. Tinubu has been facing increasing pressure from within and outside his party, the All Progressives Congress, to sack underperforming ministers in his cabinet. Although the president had warned against underperformance about 10 months ago, the cabinet had remained largely intact, save for the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Udu. The Central Bank of Nigeria has reduced the cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions from 0.5% to 0.005% in its new fiscal guidelines for 2024 to 2025. This is following the controversial introduction of the levy earlier in the year, which was met with criticism from Nigerians, subsequently suspended by President Bola Tinubu in May 2024. But in a new development, the Apex Bank said it will continue to enforce the payment of the mandatory levy of 0.005% on all electronic transactions by banks and other financial institutions by the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015. The levy, introduced under the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015, amended in 2024, is set to support the National Cybersecurity Fund, administered by the Office of the National Security Advisor. And now to discuss this, we're joined by tech analyst Temitayo Okuboyejo, and she joins me live. Thank you so much, Temitayo, for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this. I mean, once said the president said, this administration said they were not going on with the cybersecurity levy. They scrapped it, and now they have reintroduced it back. How would the reintroduced cybersecurity levy impact the cost of electronic transactions for consumers and also businesses in Nigeria?
So I think the place to begin is the lack of clarity. So previously, when the cybersecurity levy was first introduced, the rationale for it was that other countries, and I remember specifically the other countries that the government cited as examples were Rwanda and Ghana. Now, interestingly, these two countries have a national cybersecurity strategy, and it is under the aegis of that strategy that cybersecurity levies were introduced. So, for example, anyone can go on Google and search Ghana's national cybersecurity strategy, and they would find the the set of reasons, or a set of objectives for which the strategy is meant to achieve. Similarly, for Rwanda, we don't have the same thing in Nigeria. We don't know what our national cybersecurity strategy is. And the government, to use the street parlance, tested the microphone the last time, and now I've decided to reintroduce it. The reasoning for it, we don't know. I mean, I've gone and read all the opinion on articles I can find since the second announcement, and none of it specifies the objectives, what exactly the government is trying to achieve, other than to introduce another tax. So that's my starting point. Now, when we now move on to the business environment, you have a tax. It's supposedly very small, 0.005 or 0.05% of any transactions. And you begin to wonder how an addition, given the current business environment, in the current climate, additional taxation in the name of a levy gets added, increasing the cost of doing business, the cost of everyday transactions yet again. The only, so there are some exemptions, and those exemptions are very moot, to say the least.
Right.
Salaries are exempted. Payments for loans, so loan repayments are exempted. Mm-hmm. The cost of clearing a check, it's exempted from clearing a check. Mm-hmm. If you're transferring funds of your own within the same bank, they're exempted. So, for example, if I bank with Union Bank and I have a current account,
Temitayo, your examples will cost you a check, or Temitayo, your examples will cost you a check. But we're pressed for time, right? So let's keep it moving as quickly, because we're really pressed for time. But how would the central bank one of the problems that we have, especially when it comes to, government institutions, whether it's the executive itself or other MDAs, what we see is that there's never enough transparency, or Nigerians, there's this transparency or trust deficit. So how would the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, ensure that this collected levies, is, utilized effectively to enhance the security, cybersecurity infrastructure and protect, electronic transactions? Very quickly, because we're pressed for time.
So anyone who has those expectations from the central bank, has is a joker, in my view. Has the central bank done that for stamp duties? Do you know what it's used for, other than it's a charge on every transfer we make? Does anyone know what the central bank does with it? So any expectation that the central bank will provide some kind of clarity, in my opinion, is one that either reeks of ignorance or ignores how our government agencies tend to deal with policies. So I'm not expecting anyone to tell me or provide any transparency around what it will be used for. Banks, on their own, have to add the cost of security. The idea of securing customer funds is part of the cost of doing business, which banks would have had added to the cost of doing their businesses. I don't know why we have to pay for that. And in fact, it'd be interesting. It would be good to know if these costs that the CBN is charging, if some of these costs will be shared with banks to make securing our funds better. And then what does it mean for consumers? Does it mean that if I get, if I'm a victim of a fraud, the usual things that happens where somebody, you click a link or something, they take over your account and they transfer your money out. Is this levy some kind of insurance? Is this a way of ensuring that I get my money back?
Right.
What is it for?
Right. I mean, Tayo, now that you're talking about, the consumers, one has to talk about financial inclusion, as particularly for the underserved populations that rely on electronic transactions, especially those that live in the border town, around, the perimeters of Nigeria. Let's put them in this conversation. How would the levy affect financial inclusion? Quickly, because we're out of time.
Okay, so again, from a government that considers itself a party that calls itself a progressive party, this is a regressive tax, because what it means is the same percentages apply to everybody, irrespective of income levels, irrespective of the size of transaction. So it would, the way it would affect someone who transfers 10,000 naira is exactly the same it would affect someone who transfers 100,000 naira. You have to make, if the final funds you need to transfer to someone is 100,000 naira, you have to account for that charge. So it's an additional tax, and it's regressive because it has no thresholds. It doesn't account for income. It doesn't take anything into account. It's just this flat percentage applied to everyone. People, as you said, in border towns, people who do not have access to banks, the unbanked communities. It means that these communities that would rely on POS, so it's an additional charge that POS operators would have to add when people process transactions with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
so sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted you to round up there with your final statement as we go, just your last sentence there.
So my final statement is that at this time, given the economic climate from a government that considers itself a progressive government, this is a disappointment. And aside from that, we have no clarity. We don't know what this money is supposed to be for. So it's just a question of the government using its powers. It's almost some kind of bullying. Like, we can use this power and we're going to do it anyway, without any consultation, without any recourse to how people would feel about these things. Well, and what exactly it does for us, we don't know. So it's a huge shortcoming from the government. And I think we're now at a point where the government needs to begin to communicate to us better. They need to implement policies in a way that doesn't continue to erode an already, a government that already suffers from a huge amount of trust deficits.
Right.
So it just enlarges it.
Right. Well, Temitayo, many thanks for doing this with us. We appreciate you for coming on. Temitayo Okubayo-Joe, she is a tech analyst and joined us to discuss more on the reintroduction of the security levy. Once again, we appreciate you. Thank you. We switch gears now from that. The federal government has called on agencies recruiting for the private sector to adhere to the 70,000 naira minimum wage, warning that any deviation would not be tolerated. According to the federal government, the new minimum wage is necessary to address the current economic reality, emphasizing that no Nigerian worker, whether in government or private employment, should be paid less than the minimum wage. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, Ismaila Abubakar, stated this while speaking at the 13th Annual General Meeting of the Employers Association for Private Employment Agencies in Nigeria, held in Ikeja, Lagos. And now to update on the aftermath of the Maiduguri flood. Presidential candidate of the the New Nigeria's People Party, NNPP, at the last presidential election, that's Rabiu Kwankwaso, was in Maiduguri, capital of Borno State, to commiserate with government and people of the state over the flood disaster. Kwankwaso said his visit was to share in the moment of grief with victims of the floods, as most people are saddened with the tragedy. According to him, beyond party politics, humanity comes first, and unity of purpose is what makes the country great. The former NNPP presidential candidate presented a check of 50 million naira.
Commiserate with you and through you, the good people of Borno State. We have seen what happened, especially the issue of the flood. It was very sad for all of us. It's not only you or the good people of Borno State. This tragedy is for the entire people of this country.
Your Excellency, we are indeed very grateful. This goes to show that we remain one indivisible element. We have seen you here with a nice delegation. And apart from your coming a few days ago, your son, His Excellency the Governor of Kano State, has sent a very powerful delegation with his own support. And this has gone a very long way in supporting the victims of the disaster.
Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has reiterated the unwavering commitment of the Nigerian military to honor the sacrifices of the nation's fallen heroes and support their loved ones left behind. General Musa gave the assurance during the 35th anniversary and commissioning of the 41st Regular Course Memorial Park in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria. Our correspondent Idong Joseph filed this report.
The Memorial Park was built by members of the 41st Regular Course of the Nigerian Defense Academy in honor and remembrance of their course-mates who have lost their lives in the course of serving the nation. The regular course, which began its journey in September 1989, has so far lost over 40 of its members in the line of duty.
Some of our brothers who are not here physically with us because they have paid the supreme price in the course of service in various theaters of operations and transited in varying circumstances. We remember them today, as always, with recollections of the fond memories of the time we shared together on this side of life. As of today, 41 members of 41st Regular Course have passed on.
And let it always remind us that no matter how many years that have rolled by, we will never forget the sacrifices made in the line of duty, honor, and country.
The Chief of Defense Staff, who was represented at the memorial by the Commandant of the Nigerian Defense Academy, reiterated the armed forces' commitment to uphold the values that the fallen hero fought for and to support their families.
It's an indication to the cadets that their sacrifice and training, even if they lose their life in the process, shall not be in vain. They always will remember. Nationally also, it seeks to represent a memorial that members of the armed forces who lose their lives in the service of the nation will never be forgotten and their memories will remain alive.
The unveiling of the park is expected to serve as a symbol of dedication, loyalty, and commitment to aspiring cadets, reminding them of the need to give their all to their fatherland.
The National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons has reported that more than 600 migrants were repatriated back to Nigeria in the last few weeks in the wake of a rise in illegal migration in the country. The Federal Honorable Commissioner of the Commission, and that is Tijani Aliyu Ahmed, said this while meeting with the Working Group on Return, Readmission and Reintegration for its first quarterly meeting in Lagos. News Central's Adeshawa Odushoga reports.
Between 2017 and 2023, more than 8,000 Nigerian migrants were assisted in returning home from transit and destination countries along the Mediterranean irregular migratory route. Following the National Migration Policy for 2015, these returning migrants are reintegrated back into the system, making sure that they can access the same services as their fellow citizens. In its quarterly meetings with relevant stakeholders, the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons and the International Organization for Migration met with the Working Group on Return, Readmission and Reintegration of Migrants in Lagos to deliberate on the activities of the committees in various zones of the country.
We have to look at some of the policies that is inclined with these migrants who are these returnees, to see areas that will require a little bit review, and then also to receive report from our state level, because we are now stepping down now, creating a sub-regional committee within the states.
One of the key objectives of this gathering is to compile reports from state-level integration committees, present updates on the implementation of the operationalized action plan, agree on actionable recommendations, and establish concrete implementation parameters.
For a returnee per se, a return process is always traumatic. So lots of things happened, the outcome was not as he expected, and if he then has to deal with lots of different agencies, that is very often too complicated. So our idea is now to offer one seamless process, and therefore it's important that we speak to all different stakeholders who are involved in the process.
While illegal migration continues to remain a source of concern for the safety of the nationals, the need to reintegrate returning migrants is essential to breaking the cycle of irregular migration, fostering sustainable development, supporting human dignity, and promoting social cohesion in the country. In Lagos for News Central, Adeshawa Odushoga.
In today's rapidly evolving job market, navigating a successful career path requires a strategic approach. With the birth of technology and the increasing importance of networking, opportunities are endless. News Central's Chidima Ona shares more in this report.
The impact of online platforms and digital tools in today's world is enormous. It is in every aspect of life, offering vast databases of information and opportunities. Today, social media platforms have become essential for professional networking and connecting with industry experts, thereby enabling individuals to harness opportunities.
For the opportunities, I'm really grateful, especially for this industry, because I've had a lot of people hold my hand, a lot of veterans, a lot of icons in the industry hold my hand, and because of that, I've been able to get a little bit of visibility and a whole lot of recognition for the work that I do. So yes, having to come to work every day and doing what I do is an opportunity in itself for me, because I see every appearance, every time I go on air, every time I present something as an audition, as a rehearsal.
Online platform and digital tools have revolutionized the job search process by making it more accessible, efficient, and targeted. Unlike traditional job search, where people have to rely on the newspaper.
Another added advantage to career development for many Nigerians is the access to online courses and certifications. Away from the internet, life coaches say that maintaining a professional network is necessary for career advancement.
It helps you deepen your knowledge of whatever career is you're choosing. It helps you see how it's practically put in place. And most especially, because you're now working with people who are actually doing something that you are doing. You're in an association or a social circle or a network that contains people who are doing what you're doing. You're tapping into their knowledge load. So you can actually literally know what to do next just because you're inside that network.
To navigate the complexities of the job market, effectively leveraging technology and networking is paramount for building successful and long-term careers. In Lagos for News Central, Chidima Ona.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. Coming up, Comoros president makes first appearance since knife attack. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Comoros President Azali Assoumani on Thursday chaired a cabinet meeting in his first public appearance since being wounded in a knife attack last week, government footage showed. Somani is seen in the video with a thick bandage on the left side of his forehead, smiling as he got into a car and arriving at the presidential compound. He greeted advisors and ministers before sitting at the end of the cabinet table where he looked through files. The 65-year-old president had not been seen since September 13th when he was wounded by a soldier during the funeral of a religious leader in Salimani, Sandra, on the outskirts of the capital, Moroni. South Africa is hosting the Africa Aerospace and Defense 2024 exhibition at the Waterloo Air Force Base in Pretoria. The premier event kicks off from the 18th to the 22nd of September 2024 and is aimed at strengthening the continent's aerospace and defense sectors. News Centro's Wangani Zaziba has more.
South Africa demonstrates its world-class defense system, renowned for their precision and effectiveness, both in peacekeeping and combat. From armored vehicles to cutting-edge missiles technology, the nation stands proud as a leader in defense innovation on the continent. The skies above are filled with South Africa's finest defense aircrafts, showcasing their unique maneuverability and state-of-art technology. These marvelous machines are not just symbols of power, they represent a commitment to ensuring safety and security across the borders. A special highlight of the event is the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who graced the exhibition. His presence reflects South Africa's dedication to forging strong partnership within Africa.
Well, this is an excellent exhibition, and I'm really pleased that the SANDF is able to put up a wonderful show like this, where they bring together a number of air forces, but also a number of producers who come and showcase their wares, their missiles, their bombs and all that, and their aircraft. So it's good to see. But what is also good is for us to showcase our own creations.
The Africa Aerospace and Defense Exhibition is more than just a showcase. It is a testament to Africa's strength and unity, innovation and ambitions. Together, Africa is laying a groundwork for secure, prosperous continent.
We are bringing the world to South Africa, and when we bring the world to South Africa, it has a positive impact on our economy. It has a positive impact on the work of the defense and aviation industry, job creation, tourism, and the tax revenue at large.
South Africa's advancement in aerospace and defense technology serves as an essential resource for regional security, working together with other countries to strengthen capabilities to face any emerging threats.
We have here our Dornier model there, one of the passenger aircraft, which can do the surveillance. It has got the maritime role also availability with us, and it can do the medical evacuation. It can have a VIP transport available with it. So this is a version which we are displaying, one model which you are seeing it here.
So, we're looking at the Trigicon RMR HD. It's brand new, very popular with the sport shooting and tactical shooting community. What makes it unique is it has now got a front-facing light sensing unit, so it automatically adjusts to your lighting conditions at your target position.
The benefits of this exhibition extends beyond the battlefield. From humanitarian missions to disaster management, the innovations presented here promise a brighter future for all sectors of the society. At the Waterkloof Air Base in Pretoria, for News Central, Wangani Sisiba.
You're watching news now on News Central TV. We're going on a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest in the world of sports. Stay with us. The Super Eagles of Nigeria have maintained their 39th spot in the latest FIFA World Ranking. This comes after the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, where Nigeria defeated Benin Republic 3-0 and played a stalemate with Rwanda and in Kigali. Now, these results, however, still saw Nigeria retain its spot in the top 40 best football-playing nations in the world per the latest FIFA ranking. Meanwhile, in Africa, Nigeria is ranked the 6th strongest nation, topped by Morocco, Senegal, Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire, and Tunisia. Also, direct rivals, Ghana, are ranked 70th, while South Africa is ranked 59th. The Super Eagles are still in search of their next head coach, with the AFCON qualifier returning in October when they face Libya in a Group D clash. And that's all we can take at this time. But before we go, let's share with you, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Nigeria police have given update on security arrangement ahead of Edo governorship election. CBN has reintroduced cybersecurity levy on electronic transactions. We also told you that Comoros president has made his first appearance since knife attack. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. Make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, or Apple TV, or better yet, stream us live on YouTube. And thanks for watching. I'm Judith, Atibi. Bye for now.